Hi guys and welcome back to Couch Critics. I'm Lamia.
And I'm Ruby, and today we're reviewing Before Sunrise.
Yes, it's a movie that came out 30 years ago,
Yeah,
and this month is their 30-year anniversary.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's one of three movies. It's a trilogy. It's Before Sunrise, Before Sunset,
and
and
something about midnight.
today we're reviewing the first one.
Mm.
And what I also like about this trilogy, besides the fact that it's a classic, it's also the three movies are filmed like a lot of years apart. Like I feel like 10 years apart. So it's really we see the characters evolve with the
Evolution.
actors, and it's very wholesome.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, basically it talks about two young people in their 20s traveling. I think it was in Paris, right?
They were in Vienna.
They were in Vienna. So yeah, they were in Europe.
Mm.
Somewhere, not Paris. I'm sorry.
The
I was
character, the
close.
girl, she's Parisian, I
Yes.
think.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
she's
That's
French, and
yeah.
the lead is the guy
It's
lead is American.
Yes.
Yeah.
And as they were in a coffee shop,
They were actually in a train. I watched the movie 2 days ago.
I watched it 3 years ago. No, I'm kidding. 1 year ago. But yeah, I'm trying to remember it.
They
Okay.
were in a train. They were going to Vienna. The guy,
Yeah.
the lead actor, he had to take a plane in Vienna to just go back to the States, while the lead actress, she just had to not leave the train and just go to Paris. So they just meet, they start talking, and then they decide to spend a whole night in Vienna together and to not meet again.
Yeah, I feel like this is so wholesome. That's what's really wholesome about
Mhm.
this movie. It shows really the impulsiveness of
Yeah.
being in your 20s and having like wanting to live this movie like
hmm
experience. What?
And so we follow them throughout the night,
Yeah.
their entire very long night, and it's actually like a 2 hour movie, almost 2 hour movie, entirely about that one night. So
And they're just talking. It's just those two actors. There's
yeah,
nobody else. And for me, I didn't get bored during this, which
same.
feels so amazing. And honestly, now that we're talking about it, it feels like a moving podcast. Like we just
Right.
hear two people having a conversation,
Yeah.
but except there's scenery around them. They're
Mhm.
in Europe. There's like this, I don't know, this life effect also than just sitting down and talking.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah. And as Ruby said, it's only two people, and they're just literally wandering down the streets. They're going to a coffee shop, then to a restaurant, then to a club, then they're just out there, and it seems boring at first, but I feel like it's a movie about the magic that happens when you let life happens.
yeah,
And so although it's just one night and it's just like this very short amount of time, it feels heavier and like more important than like a movie about a relationship that lasted forever. And
yeah.
yeah,
I feel like that's also what's heartbreaking about it. I feel like this movie was filmed 30 years ago. It was before social media, but I feel like
yeah.
nowadays, if you actually meet a person like this in a spontaneous spot, we have such like a need to stay connected with people.
Mhm.
I don't think this movie would have been the same if it happened right now with social media. People like they would have found a way to stay in touch.
Yeah, but don't
They
you
did
think
have,
that would have ruined it?
I think
Because
so, yeah.
I'm sorry to spoil you if you haven't watched this. But like at the end of the movie, the both of the characters, they decide to meet again 5 years from the date where
Yeah.
they separated. And since they didn't have any phones nor any social medias, they just said to each other that they would meet. I think it was that 6 months, not
Yeah.
5 years. 6 months from that date in the same place. So I feel like, like when you just have a certain date and you just like there are so many endless possibilities that you
Mhm.
could imagine. Whereas when you have someone's social media, you just can figure out their entire life and
Yeah.
just like fill out any blank that you have, and that might ruin the whole magic aspect of it. Like by the time the 6 months passes by, you might not even want to see that person because you already know what they like, what they don't like before they even open their mouth
Yeah,
to
before they
talk.
have a chance
Yeah.
to like to present themselves.
Mhm.
We do all of these prejudice about
Yeah.
people from their social media. That is very true. Yeah, so I think it's the beauty of it, and it's come to think of it, I think they would have had the chance to find a way to stay connected, but they chose
Mhm.
not to take their phone numbers or address or anything because they wanted this magic to still be there. And yeah, it's special. It reminds me of a How I Met Your Mother episode. I know this is completely off topic, but there's one episode where the main character, whose name is Ted Mosby, starts dating someone, and he also talks about like the problem of social media, how like people can know everything about the other person like before they actually meet them. So he meets someone at a bar and he asks this person to like not Google him, and they promise each other not to Google each other before their first date, and they go on a date and everything goes well, and then by some like unlucky, he just ends up googling the person, and he realizes that the girl is such an overachiever that he
Yeah,
becomes intimidated, and the date that was going really well ends up going really badly at the end because he felt the need to like prove himself. And I feel like this is a problem that didn't happen
yeah.
in that movie but that we might have
Mhm.
nowadays. We have this whole presumption about the people around us from what we see, from what they decide to show, actually, that it sometimes ruins the magic of
Totally.
meeting someone, like, and really knowing, getting to know them.
But isn't this why we actually like movies that underline that magic? Like
Yeah,
movies like this one, or movies like um After Sun,
yeah,
where nothing actually happens. Like
yeah.
I'm pretty sure that like maybe during, if this movie came
Okay.
like the people who watched this movie 30 years ago,
Hmm.
they probably thought that it was boring because it
Yeah.
was very very relatable. It's like watching a movie about dating
Hmm.
nowadays. It's
Yeah.
you wouldn't want to watch it. But yeah, it's just that the fact that nothing happens is everything, because it just lets you relate to those characters. It gives you space to just relate to everything that's going on. And yeah, it's I feel like mystery is lost
Hmm.
nowadays.
Yeah.
There is nothing mysterious anywhere about anyone, about most people, and it's just the new norm. And I don't know
That's a
if
healthy norm.
hmm?
I don't know if that's a healthy norm. I'm sorry, I
I don't
was
know
just.
if it's a healthy norm, and I don't know if like we would want to watch any romance movies or any movies that lack mystery.
Yeah, it's true. And I do agree about it. I think this movie might have been boring for the people who watched it 30 years ago, but I think that also this movie was very ahead of its time
Yeah.
because I feel like right now a lot of series and TV shows are trying to follow the characters'
Hmm.
evolvement, like After Sun, as we
Yeah.
stated. We're trying to see the character development. We're trying to get, like, instead of having a plot and antagonists and protagonists, we're trying to focus on one person and just like see their own improvement. I think the beauty of this movie was really just following the characters.
Hmm.
And I think I've said this for Past Lives, but this movie is a bit the opposite of it because in Past Lives, the characters, there's a lot of unsaid between the characters, whereas in this movie, since it's only those two people and we're just following them for one night, we get to go, like, we get to see them think a lot, we get to hear them think, they get to share their thoughts. There's a lot of monologues, if I remember correctly, and that's a beauty. Sometimes I feel like in life we don't always have the opportunity to really say what's on our mind,
Yeah.
and this movie does the complete opposite. Like, you have two people who are completely open to listen to each other and who know, like, who have like very structured thought process
Hmm.
and who voice out their opinions in such a, I don't know, in a nice way that it's makes it enjoyable for us
Who
to
actually
watch it.
have the time to even form opinions in their heads
Yeah.
that are very like developed. Because I feel like even like we're so overly, this is like a whole other debate, but we're so like distracted right now
Hmm.
that we don't even have the time to think about
Yeah.
the things that we want to think about. Like
Yeah.
you never sit down and just like wonder about anything right now.
That is so true. And I feel like we are not bored anymore, which to
Mm,
me is such a problem because I feel like when
yeah.
you're bored, that's when you get to be the most creative. But also, I feel like we're so used to listen and to absorb information that the opinions we form are not necessarily our own because it's just things that we get fed. And I feel like it's one of the reasons why I feel like nowadays it's like if you find people with, for example, the same feed on social media, you can relate to them so much faster because you're both exposed to the same things. And unless someone develops a critical way of thinking, everybody's gonna end up thinking the same way.
Yeah.
We're getting really off
This
topic
is
right
like
here.
far away from what we plan
From
to
the
review.
movie. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad we're having these conversations because the movie, I mean, if we talked about this movie a few years ago, maybe it would have brought up different ideas. But like right
Yeah.
now, this is our reality. This is
Yeah.
what comes up when you watch this movie. You can't help but compare the character's reality to your
Yeah.
reality. And right now, this movie kind of feels dystopian. And
Yes, and
yeah.
it feels very far away from
Mm,
us. I've, I mean, how I take like public transportation all the time, and I've never ever like had eye contact with someone.
yeah.
And even if I did, I like try to look away as fast as possible because
Mm,
you also right now I feel like we're growing such a fear of the others, like
mm,
people that we don't know, we don't want to like have a conversation with them.
yeah.
Nobody talks to each other. Nobody comes up to each other in coffee shops or in anywhere or like trains or anything.
Mm,
And I don't know if it's good or it's bad. I feel like it's we feel safest when we know that everybody is in their own bubble,
mm,
but at the same time we're losing like this sense of community, the sense of um, recognition to the
yeah.
other person.
And it's
And
very isolating to be
it's
in a
very,
bubble.
yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah. So speaking of the movie,
Yes, sorry, the
speaking of
movie.
the movie, I felt like this movie was almost like a short film. Like I feel like a
Yeah,
student or an amateur could just like pick up a camera and then like hire two actors and just like
yes,
follow them around
yeah,
with a very amateur script or just even tell them to improv and
yeah,
it would have worked. And
yeah,
yeah, this is very cool.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
like a short movie that went on for 2 hours. I think that sums it up for after before sunrise, after sun
After
before
sun.
sunrise. That's like it's closed
They're very
titles.
similar,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Please go and watch it and let us know what you think about this movie. Do you relate to it? Do you think Mystery is lost forever? Or do you think that it's not lost?
Yes. And let us know if you want us to review the other two.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like these other two are also a classic. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I haven't watched the other two and I would love to know if they actually met or not and what ended up
I'm
happening.
gonna
So,
have to watch it.
yeah.
Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.
And we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.